Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Is my audio clear and screen visible? Can somebody confirm,
Yes,
please?
sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
thanks. Okay. So in the last class, we were discussing about approaches to address some of the problems that would come by because we are using embryonic stem cells, something like the problems of undifferentiated embryonic stem cells. There we focused on FACS and MACS. We also discussed a few of the other ones. FACS is a good and nice, exciting technique to look at. It employs the use of antibodies tagged with fluorescent dyes. It can also use other types of dyes as well, which can penetrate into the cell, because of which the fluorescence could allow giving a charge to the droplets, and then the droplets would deflect into separate tubes, and that is how we could sort the cells. So in that sense, we wanted to, from a mixture of differentiated cells, we want to get rid of the embryonic stem cells, that is undifferentiated cells, so that they would not, which would otherwise cause teratoma. We also discussed about magnetic MACS, which employs the magnetic ones. And and then the next topic is differentiation, which we already discussed a little bit, where we come till embryoid body using hanging drop method and some of the technologies, the recent ones we have seen. And differentiation strategies is what we will discuss briefly, and then move on until at a later time. We will probably learn more specific details at a later time. So one of the issues is if we want to the problems before going into differentiation, we need to address some other problems, which is we are destroying embryos to get embryonic stem cells, human embryos, which people are sensitive about. In the later class of today, we are going to have a lot of discussion where you have to share your opinions on it, and which is important for kind of professional ethics and also about general sensitivities, how we feel, how we relate stem cell research into our whether it is good to do or not, and all those things. So instead of destroying embryos, I think if we did not discuss this, we will take it up now. Say if embryos were there, say it's in a modular stage or even blastula stage, and we could probably take out a few blastomeres, that is the cells, some cells of them, and then perform this pre-implantation genetic diagnosis, you call it. Say, as I said, IVF. Did we finish this topic? Just somebody can talk about it, and then if we didn't finish, I'll continue. If this is redundant, I will skip. That's why I'm asking. About this part, did we discuss or not?
No, sir. I don't.
No, right? Okay, that's fine. So IVF, if there is a female and there is a male, okay, they are a couple and they want to have their own biological children. The problem is this female has BRCA mutation. You may have heard about it. It is a pre-genetic disposition to breast cancer. And on the male side also, the mother of somebody also had BRCA mutation. So if they have their biological children and there is a female, it's very likely that the child may also inherit that BRCA mutation and may get breast cancer. So in that case, this pre-implantation genetic diagnosis is very helpful. What should these people do is go to IVF clinic. In an IVF clinic, they would generate the embryo, right? Before implantation, that's why we say it is pre-implantation. before implanting the embryo into the mother, they could take out some blastomeres and perform genetic analysis, like to see if the BRCA mutation is there or not. As I said, they would actually generate multiple embryos, and they would choose if they should have performed this pre-implantation genetic diagnosis on all the embryos and choose the embryos that may not have the mutation, and then implant it into the mother so that the mother can give rise to a healthy baby. Right? So this is a nice boon in a way, through which we can probably eradicate over generations. We can probably eradicate some of the bad genes coming to the child. Right? So that if we can take for blastomere biopsies, if we could take it, then we could probably also generate human embryonic stem cells by culturing them. Right? In that case, we are not destroying the embryos. But this does have risk. There will be a risk to the embryo. But as the technologies and nowadays, we can just get one cell and try to do the analysis just from one cell also. The technologies are being developed where we can then probably get human embryonic stem cells without destroying embryos. In the future, when if those who are going for IVF clinic may harvest embryonic stem cells of the child and give to the child anytime give to the individual anytime they want. That could be a possibility in the future. That is a possibility. So the other one is to use induced pluripotent stem cells. That means the general concept is that you take a differentiated cell and try to, by means of genetic reprogramming, you can generate an embryonic stem cell. Not embryonic stem cells. These are pluripotent stem cells. They're induced, so you call them as iPSC. They are similar, but not identical to the embryonic stem cells so far. So the Nobel Prize was also given for this to generate embryonic stem cells. We will read about it. Until then, OKSM, OCT4, KLF2, KLF4, SOX2, and CMYC. These are some of the transcription factors when they are overexpressed. Normal or differentiated cells tend to become pluripotent, and those are called as induced pluripotent stem cells. There are many other ways of how people think by reprogramming and doing some other things to generate embryonic stem cells that are compatible with the patient. So basically, this is trying to address how to get embryonic stem cells without destroying embryos. Okay. There are the strategies for differentiation is what we will have a quick look at it here right now. And some of them are, the differentiation happens spontaneously. That means you take embryonic stem cells, you make them as embryoid bodies, and then you keep growing, and over a period of time, neuron-like cells arise. But it's not spontaneously they give rise to every other cell type. If you want cardiomyocytes or other things, they do not happen just like that. So in those cases, there are strategies. Some of the strategies are co-culturing. That means, say, for example, we take human embryonic stem cells and then grow them along with, say, cardiomyocytes-like cells. And these cells will also, say here, endodermal cells. If you put along with endodermal cells, human embryonic stem cells become cardiomyocytes. Right? If you're putting endodermal-like things, that is co-culturing. You're growing these two cells together, and the human embryonic stem cells will become as cardiomyocytes. That is in the heart. So there are other ways like growing them with certain growth factors, as I discussed about conditioned medium and so on. That means you're using a different type of condition or growth factor, and because of which, or biochemical agents it can be, because of which human embryonic stem cells start differentiating into a particular cell type. If we add retinoic acid, they tend to become neurons much more readily. If you add DMSO, then they become something like the bone-like cells. So there are many other examples for different tissue types. Okay, we just have to mug up in that way. There is another way, which is a genetic mechanism, where we take embryonic stem cell, say this is the embryonic stem cell, and then we add a construct which is having a gene, something, for example, here, cardiomyosin gene that is given. You overexpress this cardiomyosin gene, and it will produce the products of, cardiomyosin. And eventually, this embryonic stem cell changes into cardiomyocytes. If you see several labs across the world, and they're all trying to generate better and efficient ways of differentiation. One of the problems is when they differentiate, they're not absolutely or identical to the natural ones. There will be some little bit variations. And that is why many labs still work on trying to improve the existing protocols so that upon differentiation, we get identical cells like what would they have been in the body. There are some success, there are some still working, but these are general ideas. We have a whole chapter on genetic reprogramming, and that is when we will discuss more about these details, or you will read about them. Co-culturing or conditioned media using growth factors, biochemical agents, and the third one is genetic mechanisms, such as by using genetic manipulation. Okay, yes. So there are many things that we still don't know. So how much should we give? How should we deliver to the tissue, to the individual? Should we put the cells at the site of the injury or defect? Or can we just inject them and these cells home or go to the place of the target site and then repair the damage? Those are some of the things people have been thinking about. It would be nice, right, if there is an individual and there is a problem and you just give an intravenous injection and the cells will go to the site of damage and repair the damaged tissue. That will be a nice way, simple way of doing. If we want to give it to the area of problem, say if there is heart and then we want to give to the site of the injury, then it requires a lot of procedures. It will be nice to give as an intravenous injection, but it's not possible. It's not so. There are risks, right? What if these cells go and settle somewhere else other than the target site and so on? So these are some of the thoughts people have been thinking about, and different labs are working on different things. So how do we know the niche? What is a niche? Niche is something, say for example, you are the individual stem cell. The type of interactions we have, this is the close knit of your family, friends, and the kind of social media news that you keep getting from outside. Right? Your behavior, your thoughts, your everything, your happiness, your success, your failure, everything is determined by not just you, but also your surroundings. All that is called as niche. Right? Niche is what keeps us the way we are. And so the choice of your niche, right, or the niche conditions you had to be will determine how you grow, how you think, how you behave, your discipline, your success. Many things are based on that. The same way, a stem cell, when a stem cell or any of these cells, when they have to be in certain conditions, three-dimensional, not just one dimension. There are, as we can say, intrinsic factors. That means the gene expression of that cell, and extrinsic factors, those that are affecting the cell-cell communications, the compounds or the endocrine system, the hormones, biochemicals, the physical forces, everything acting on the cell constitutes the niche. And we should be able to know how the niche is influencing the stem cell to be as a stem cell or to differentiate into something else. That is another some things that we don't know completely. The other one is a nice, I would like to also think of it is, what should we give? As we said, this individual has a problem and we want to try to take a stem cell approach for treatment. And what should we give? Should we give embryonic stem cells? And that's not going to be a viable one because it might result in teratoma. What if the given ones, they enter the body, differentiate, and then repair all the parts of our body? Then people will live forever. So these are all question marks. It is like trying to say aging is a normal process, that we all get old and eventually leave. What if we can reverse aging by replenishing the body with embryonic stem cells? Right? Maybe not many are working on that, but as a theory, it's worth thinking about it. But it's embryonic stem cells. Giving embryonic stem cells is of high risk. We have been talking about the last two classes trying to get rid of the undifferentiated cells. So that's not the one way. But the problem of giving terminally differentiated cells is you give, say, 100 cells to the individual. They have their lifespan, wear and tear, and they would die out over time. Right? And then what do you expect how to do it? Should we give another set of 100 again at a later time? And that's not so great. How many cells would we get to give to that person at one time? So some of the other solutions are, how about giving progenitor cells? Progenitor cells are something like this. They divide and they eventually give rise to, or these are the ones that give rise to multiple differentiated cells, same multiple number of differentiated cells. Right? If you give one progenitor cell, maybe it can give rise to two, each one can give rise to two differentiated cells. In that way, we can reduce the number of cells that are required also. These are just thoughts and rough ways of discussion. Okay, if there is a brainstorming session and then you bring a question and then you try to find different types of answers. So now we are going to start the discussion and what is ethical and what is unethical. Before I go into what I'm discussing here, we will set our intentions of it. There is nothing right and wrong. We are not trying to be judgmental about anybody, whether it is right or wrong. We're only trying to know each other's perspectives. And we are in this discussion to know the possibilities, what other ways of thinking are there. As I said, all the things we as an individual, in the niche conditions, like I told you, we are not what we actually are. What I mean is, we didn't make the choices. We are born into a certain conditions in a certain place to a certain parents. And we are influenced. We are born like blank sheets of paper. And the schools, parents, relatives, friends, everybody write on them. There is sometimes we pay attention. Sometimes there are a lot of things in our mind that are fed to everybody else. Sometimes we observe ourselves and we may like things. We are the product of our niche. And this happens from the time we are born, the minute we are born until a long time. For some people, it stops at 10 years old, for some at 15, for some at 25. but some people will keep on depending on other sources to know, even at 60 years. The problem is also there are two things about it. The brain is one concept. If you look at other animals, their capacities or their requirements are very limited. Feeding, fighting, flying away, or flight, reproduction, these are the only things they have in their whole life, and that is what they do. We as social organisms, we have more complexities building into things than we have. We have to plan a whole life, right? And for that we are endowed with a lot of cognitive skills, but without knowledge. We are born with brain that has potential to grow and become anything. Only thing is how is it is being shaped is beyond our control, at least in this age, about 0 to 10 years or so. And then we become and then somebody else fills the cups that we have in our brain, and that will be the parents, friends, and relatives, and school, and so on. Somewhere this is the problem is also with independent thinking, right? If everything is taught to us and we haven't observed anything, or we haven't come up with something, then it is like, are we living our life, or are we living somebody else's life? Or it's like, is somebody else living our life, right? These are some things which you can think about. Why I bring this up is about morality. What is right and what is wrong is dependent on how we are grown up. And there is nothing like right and wrong, absolutely or objectively. Maybe it is difficult to decipher that. I'll give you a situation and I would want you to tell me what to do. Some of you may be aware of a situation. Maybe we discussed this before in the previous lecture, but let's see what will happen. There is a train coming this way. Did we discuss this? A train is coming in this direction, and it is going to the destination X. And here is a lever for this junction, either to go this way or this way. And this is you. You see that there is a person is standing here, and he is going to be hit by the train, he or she. And you are there with the lever. You cannot shout, and assume that the person has earphones and you can't talk or say anything. You cannot communicate with the person here. Will you push the lever or not? Anybody?
I guess actually the other track would have people lying down like
No,
10.
not yet. Not yet.
Yeah, we would pull the lever.
You will pull the lever. Why would you do that?
To save him.
Yeah, why?
It's a natural instinct to save someone from the species, I guess.
That's right. Every time we find an opportunity, we have a way of trying to save, right? Although it doesn't pay us, we just maybe feel good to do that. Now, I will give you a situation where there are two people here. Okay. So there is one person here and there are two people here. Would you pull the lever or would you not pull the lever? Anybody? Yes. What is the most moral thing to do? To pull the lever or not pull the lever?
Neither is a moral thing, so we just have to
No, you have to
decide.
find the most moral one. That's how we should do.
Sir, as we have no choice, we should let the train go on its own ways.
And then with this person, you're right. I mean, everything is right here. So this is your friend. Then what would you do?
We'll try to save him.
So you'll
at
pull the
most
lever or not
ways.
pull the lever. You should just say about it. That will be enough. We can't go to the details, right? We'll pull the lever or will we not pull the lever?
Sir, we'll try to find some other way to.
No, there is no other way. Your only option is to pull or not pull the lever.
Sir, we'll sacrifice this friend, sir.
How many friends do you have, man? Okay. Yes. If I say friend and remove, put your family member or somebody, what would you do? It's like that. So the more we know a person, we will try to save the person we know the most. Right? That is one of the ways. It's inbuilt in us. I will also say you don't know and assume that there are 3 people and they're not your friends. So 3 on either side. What would you do? If we try to rationalize what should be done or should not be done, I mean, the natural course of the train would have been to go this way to X. And probably these people were aware of it. They were precautious. The train is not going to come here, so we will stand here and do something, whatever. Whereas these people might not have taken any precautions of whether the train will come. They might have been negligent or they were unaware of it. And whether you are present or not present, if you are not there, right, with the options of whether to pull the lever or not, the train would have gone. That would have been the destiny of the fate of what would happen here. What I'm trying to imply here is you can have different conditions here, different situations. It is difficult to tell what is right and wrong. It is all the conditions, our mindset, our state of mind, and many other things will dictate what is the best thing to do at this time, right? So there are many things where a rich person would get more help on the road accidents than a poor person does, right? The more well-dressed and the injury, the more people come to help you, right? Those are some of the things that we are all inbuilt. There is nothing to say about we should have done that and we should not have done this. You find if there are some other concepts like bystander effect and many other things, where of course there are many times I have been in situations where there is an accident happened or something or a violence happened, and what do you do? What should you do? Should you go and stop them from fighting? If they were fighting with something like knives and guns, should you go and stop, or should you run away? Or should you stand there and watch? The most normal instinct is to run away, unless the person involved in that fight is really related to us. Right? At least we will see, okay, is the tag from Shastra or not? Is there a tag associated? Some kind of identity, some kind of relation is what we need. Okay, so we are all grown up in different types of atmospheres. We have different things. So I hope you are able to widen your thought processes and views and be able to accommodate different opinions, or at least willing to have a look at the different opinions. Have we ever been wrong? No. Has our family ever been wrong? No. Has our state ever been wrong? No. Has our country ever been wrong? No. It is this because they belong to us, right? If you were somebody else and asking the same question, if you look from Pakistan or somebody, you would say, yes, India is wrong. If you ask your enemy, they will say, yes, you are wrong. If you ask your enemy's friend, they will say, yeah, yes, your family is wrong. So our judgments will always favor us or anything related to us. That's how we are biased. Okay. So there are going to be some questions now, and which will touch upon a little bit of sensitivities. The goal of this exercise is to know about ethics, about what is right and wrong. There are no easy answers. We are all what we are, and the way we are born and brought up. We cannot change those things easily. So how many of you are non-vegetarian? I can't see your faces, so you can please, I can't see you on the screen, so you can say no messages also. Just say your names, and yes, just say your names. Non-vegetarians?
We have raised hands. So.
No, I can't see that
Okay,
also.
sir.
I see a single screen. Just say the names.
Rishi.
Okay. Okay.
Niveta, sir.
Okay, good. What do you think?
Sir, Bone, sir.
Okay, nice. I am also a non-vegetarian, so what is it right? What is right to do and what is not right to do? So what is vegetarian? You're eating animals, right? And which animals are you eating? You eat fish, no problem. Fish, and then chicken, mutton, and would we eat anything higher than that? Elephant, a monkey, a human? Where do we stop? We don't have any problems trying to do this until fish, chicken, mutton. Why are we stopping there, and why are we? If somebody we find that they're eating monkey or a dog, we will say, ew, how do we do that? But at the same time, we are also eating other mammals like sheep or goat and other things. Is it right or wrong? And about humans, if somebody is a cannibal, and is it right or wrong? In some of the tribes in Africa and so on, I mean, they eat their dead people. Is it right or wrong? It is none of our business, right? But if somebody is killing, I mean, there are some places where they might kill other people just to eat as well. What is right and wrong? What about dogs in China and some places? They have festivals where they kill a lot of dogs and eat. Is it right or wrong? You can see chimps and bonobos being, they call it as bushmeat in Africa. They kill them and they sell, which sells a big amount as well. So in these cases, fish, chicken, mutton, and those we domesticated and we eat. So does that mean that domesticated ones can be eaten? So if somebody domesticates another human, can it be eaten? That is wrong. So vegetarians, they're not so much of a problem because majority of them are plants. So here the problem is we killing something, right? So what if we don't kill and eat something like eggs? No problem. But then people will say, this egg would have given rise to a chick or something, and you're killing it before it does so. Then we can ask, what if these were unfertilized eggs, like what we get in the shops? They do not give rise to a chick, so is it okay to eat them? Then people will say, okay, but the non-vegetarians can say, what about milk? Is it animal product or a plant product? It is coming from animal. How can you take that? How can you drink that? And then people will say, we don't kill the animal. Animal is still there. And the argument will be, counter argument to that will be like, the milk is supposed to go to the calf. Instead of the calf getting it, we take it away. right? Which otherwise the milk belonged to the calf. The calf cannot eat the grass yet. It is still young. And that is why the cow is feeding the calf. Then again, we will say, we domesticated the cattle or the cows or buffaloes to produce a large amount of milk, so there is sufficient to give to us and to give to the calf as well. So then somebody else will be in some deserts of Africa. They take blood from they make a small hole in one of the veins in the cattle's neck, small vein and then they take the blood and drink it. They cook it and drink sometimes. They're not killing the animal. Is this all right to do? These are all very shaky subjects. I am non-vegetarian. I feel sad that I am responsible for killing or anything. Sometimes I feel fine that it is domesticated and that is what we are doing. And then we say, I feel sad about it because I don't feel it right. Because if you apply empathy or think about in empathic way to the animal that is going to be killed. But the problem is I am unable to change to this. It's like we got used to it so much since the childhood that we want to eat it. We feel we go and buy fish and they cut it in front of us, give, and nobody has no big deal. But if it is anything, a large animal being killed, we don't want to see. We can't see. We just want to buy the mutton meat. I feel guilty at times, but it's very difficult for me to change now. I'm so used to it. I don't think I have that much determination yet. So there are, if we take it in biological ways, if we look at our closest ancestors or closest relatives in biology, ancestral and evolutionary ways, we can compare ourselves to the best possible is chimps or other primates. No, majority of them are frugivores in the sense they eat fruits often. But if you look at even chimps, they hunt other monkeys and other things and they eat meat occasionally. This is nothing to justify. Okay, but that is what we were. We were kind of omnivores. But it doesn't say anything about what is right and what is wrong, right? So I hope I gave you some things to think about and ponder and try to understand the other side's perspective. I might not have covered some things, but you can think of other arguments as well. And then the other severe cases says abortion and anti-abortion. In US and other places, you have serious problems. Where should abortion be allowed or should it not be allowed? So the anti-abortion will arouse religious beliefs and say this is an embryo which would grow into an individual and the embryo doesn't have a voice. So we stand for it and will not allow abortion to happen. We are against abortion. There are other individuals saying that the mother has the right to choose to have the baby or not, because the mother has to handle or deal with the embryo, which is not just the baby, it is also her emotional, physical, her psychological, economical, and social status. Everything. A mother has more responsibilities than anybody. It affects the emotional state, physical state, a psychological state, and also economical state, and also social state. To have a baby, the mother has more responsibility than anybody. It's not just another being formation, it also has drastic changes in her because of the child. Therefore, the pro abortion people side would say that the mother has to choose whether to have a baby or not. It is none of your business. I am mostly pro abortion type. I agree. I feel for the mother because who has to carry it and do that. Some people, there are situations where if there is a woman who is forced upon raped or something and she has a child, should she abort it or not? If there is a person who by mistake had and cannot afford a social living or social anything, and if there is nobody else who wants to adopt the baby, would they want, what should she do? If there is an individual where the baby is, say, if the during pregnancy, if the baby, if the doctors or somebody gets to know that the child is going to come with a genetic defect which will suffer, which will make the baby suffer through the as long as the baby lives, should we terminate the pregnancy or not? These are some of the important considerations in our modern society. But I am as much pro-abortion that it is the individual who should do it, but they should have been responsible. That means they should have planned the parenthood properly. But we can say be responsible and all. What if their planned the family planning didn't work, by mistake something has happened, or if they were too young, teenagers for example, they didn't know, or if it is forced upon, what shall the mother do? So these are slippery slopes, you can say. We don't know, we can fall on either side. We don't know what is right and wrong. So there was an individual, of a lady of an Indian origin, who had a baby, who was pregnant, and baby had something, and if abortion was not performed, the mother would die. But because the country, I don't know if it is Scotland or somewhere nearby, Ireland, because the country where they lived did not allow abortion, the mother died. Because it was illegal to carry out abortion, the mother died, and if the mother died, the fetus also died. As much I could be pro-abortion, I happened to see some 4 or 5 years back a post on Facebook, I think, where they show a very tiny fetus, which is maybe some months, very tiny fetus, which was aborted, and the fetus is moving its legs and hands, tiny, almost formed hands and legs. I couldn't sleep well for 2 days just because of that video. So I still go with pro-abortion, and I don't think it is right. Anti-abortion, I think, is not right either. It all depends on the immediate, what is the problem at that place, and the conditions and so on. And we have been discussing all these, just the problem of stem cell technology. Should we say yes? Should we pursue it or should we not pursue it? The problem is we are discussing with eggs, we are dealing with embryos, we are dealing with cloning, we are dealing with humans, and then it becomes problem. Many people may have objections to the paths that are involved in stem cell technology. It is like a human is supposed to live and die within a span, and whether we should let the destiny or fate take its toll, or should we treat them and try to make those people's life as much as possible happy and healthy. There will always be a problem with orthodoxy and or the opposite of it, right? Orthodox and I think anti-orthodox, you can say. Or orthodoxy is about conservative approach, and this one is much more liberal approach. The other one, like conservative, is to keep the things as they are and not meddle with it too much. Liberal is try to do as much as possible, right? So both are important. If we don't develop, if there is a situation like this, after 100 generations or 50 generations, okay, the humans, every human that is newly born will have a genetic defect. Assume, just let's say that is the case, and will have a lot of problems living a happy and healthy life. And that means the species is going to die out. If that is the prediction, should we do something about it or not? And if we have to do, the best we have is stem cell biology and technology. And if we want to do this, we'll have to deal with these things. So should we manipulate or not? If we don't do anything about it, the species is going to go extinct. I mean, some people can say, yeah, if it goes extinct, they will go extinct. There are 90% of the species ever came onto the surface of Earth have gone extinct. They're gone extinct. That's about it. Or we could also say, no, we have to do something about it because we are doing for our own children. That means in the future generations, they belong to us. They are our species. We should protect and do something about it. Right? Every species, in a way, is trying to do that. And that is what we are supposed to do as well. It is inherent in our nature that we try to protect our own kind. So to do is essential, which otherwise will lead to extinction or a lot of problems in the future. But how much to do and what to do? Say, if you are taking embryonic stem cells and if you are performing cloning experiment and taking embryonic stem cells to treat a patient, it's right. If you're going to make another person out of the same, is it right? That is a problem. So there are some things in many countries, the embryonic stem cell, in some countries, at least most influential country, the US, there are serious restrictions based on the type of government they get. They're based on the sensitivities they have. So we should think about it. What I see, the conservativeness or liberal, I find liberal perspective as the engine. I find it as the engine, and the conservative as the brake. So when there is power to move and we have power to control it, right? Brakes are the controls. We should know when to stop, how to slow down. And that is when we will have the best outcomes. So in stem cell research, we should, I think at this point of my perspectives, I think we should take ahead the stem cell technology. But we should be careful about things like where we are going to. There is a movie, I can't recollect the name of the movie, where there is a whole organization where this is the society. English movie, I'll try to send the link. I think I said this before. I'll try again. So they donate their cells and they keep raising some individuals. They're clones of these individuals here. And anytime anything happens to them, they operate this guy or girl and give that organ to this individual. What if we reach such a situation? What about the rights of this individual? Right? So we are heading towards democracy where we want everybody to have equal rights. And there is one more last point I will put and I'll reach. What if this technology is available only to the rich because it's expensive technology? What about the poor people? Who will pay for them? Or would they never get an opportunity to do that, for the stem cell research? Right? Even now, you can find that there are some medications which are available only to the rich, and poor cannot afford. And that is where the government does have to take the care. The rich is a very small fraction, and poor is a large fraction in many countries. If that is the case, how much does one government, how much can a government do to take care of all these poor people? Right? I hope I have given you some ideas, some perspectives about thinking in the moral ways about the technology. When you grow up into a scientist or during PhD or somewhere, you would have to do analysis or clinical trials or experiments on animals. Would you choose to do it on bacteria, fish, mice, monkeys, or guinea pigs, or humans? What would you choose? Doing it on bacteria is not useful because it's not even close. If you are doing something important for a human treatment, the best thing to do is to test a compound is to do it on humans. But you can't do it on humans just like that. What if they die? Then we take the closest one, is monkey. But how many monkeys are there? What about the rights of the monkeys? Then people go for mice. And some people even go for fish. Some people are very well one done is cell cultures. Right? So how we do things is important. How we manage our approach. How we reduce pain? How we reduce death? How we reduce suffering is the goal that we need to keep in mind when we are doing our experiments as well. Okay, I'll stop here, and I want you to quickly, I forgot, where is it? Yeah, this is some things you need to read from the textbook, types of media. Sorry. I need you to read the types of media from the textbook. Try to know the compositional significance and growth conditions. Okay? These are some important questions that you need to read from the text. What do you think we should do? Proof of principle and versus don't play God. This is an ear. They put a scaffold. They made a scaffold of an ear, implanted with cells, and then cultured it and put it under the skin of a mouse. And this ear has grown something like this. The same thing is done in this person's hand as well. You can see the cartilage that has grown as something like that. Should we do this or should we not do this? We need to, for everything we want to do, we need a proof of principle. But for some people, you're just playing and torturing the mouse. The mouse is the kind of argument as well. Okay, think on it tonight, and when we start on Monday, the next lesson, or before the next lesson, we'll have a brief discussion on this. And I would want you to have thought about it, discussed with family, friends, and then get back on Monday. Okay? I'll stop here. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, please ask.